Hello everybody, Alex Subhuman here with United Pop Melbourne. Today, let's continue on with our mixing fundamentals. So last week we covered the concept of balancing, right? So when we have our mix, the first thing we're going to want to do is balance it. But when the balance isn't enough, the next thing I'm probably going to be looking for is EQ. What is EQ? EQ is equalization. The actual way EQ works is pretty complicated. In terms of a working understanding of what EQ does, the main thing you need to know is that you're taking frequencies and you're boosting them or cutting them. You're boosting or cutting frequencies within a select frequency range. What's the frequency range? Well, we hear between 20 and 20K. Within the frequency range, we have basically lows, mids, and highs. When you start understanding music production and mixing a little bit better, you might think about things in a bit more specific ways. So you might have your subs, your lows, your low mids, your mid highs, your highs, and then air. Anyway, let's not get stuck in the technicalities of what's going on. Let's all keep it practical. So EQ, we boost or we cut frequencies. Why? Why am I doing this? I like to think about it as two different thoughts or two different processes. The first one I'm going to call tone shaping. Okay, it's not my word. One of the old famous equalizers was called actually. We can use EQ to change the tone of a sound. Every sound is made up of a fundamental and then its relative harmonics. They go up the frequency range. Using EQ, you can change that relationship between the harmonics and the fundamental, which ultimately will change the way a sound sounds. Think about it very simply. You could make something that is dull sounding sound brighter. You could make something bassy sound less bassy. So very broad EQ movements, right? I think about that as the tone shaping. We're changing the way that a sound sounds. So let's take a look at what tone shaping can be. Tone, keep the Q value lower, so it's going to be broader, right? If I move this around, you hear how it's affecting that sound, boosting it across the various regions. Think about it broadly speaking. Lows, mids, highs. So if I was to tone shape this, if I wanted more warmth or body in my sound, I might chuck it around here. Well, I'll definitely start at 100 Hertz. If there was too much body or too much warmth in the sound, what you can do is you can cut it away. That can help clean up a sound. But again, don't clean it too much because it's going to sound sterile. It's not what we want. We want a fertile mix. What? It's going to sound too clinical and that's not good. What I think I want in this is to bring in some more brightness. So rather than go in the super high end, I'm going to look to go between, just under 1K and above. And what I do, thinking I need to add more brightness, is I start here and I sweep up. But what I want to feel is that in an area, even though I've boosted it by quite a lot and it should sound a bit bad, it doesn't sound as bad as you think it should sound. And that's the indication that the frequencies need to be there. Does that make sense? I hope it does. Let's have a listen. Right there. That's 2K. Let's take it away. Let's add it back. So anywhere between 1 and 4K, I'm doing a boost of, between 5 and 6 dBs. That's quite a serious boost, but it doesn't sound that strange. And that's the important thing. That tells me that I probably do need some more there. Do you see how that's working? So, and then I'll come down from what is a pretty aggressive boost to something a little bit more sensible, maybe around here. And let's have a listen to that in context of the track. Cool. The second thing I think about when it comes to EQ is surgical EQ. And it's more corrective EQing and it's very specific. In terms of actually doing this, what I'm talking about usually here is the Q value of a frequency point. Keep the Q nice and wide, you're affecting more frequencies, therefore affecting things like the tone more. Whereas if you pinch it in a really high Q number, what we're going to get is very surgical style EQ. Why would you want to use surgical EQ? Well, there's a few different reasons. The main reason I use it is carving out space in my mix. When the balance isn't enough to hold a few sounds together, I might use surgical EQ to carve some space. What on earth am I talking about? Let's take a look. vocal. Right, so vocal. Let's boost through and find out where it's most prominent. So not down here, here. That's one. Let's get another one. Slightly boost, slightly increase the Q. See how this one's jumped up? I like that, and we'll do one more because it's a interesting vocal. Kind of that check sound. Right, so this is now the mold, the plaster cast of the vocal sample. Grab those, bring it down, pinch it in a little bit. You don't want to be too crazy with it. And then we're going to call this one Vox Cut. Get it off of the vocal. I'm trying to cut space out of my other synths. Right? So balancing will get you to where it needs to kind of be. And now the battle is not to be won with balancing. We move on to the next step. EQ. We carve the space with our EQ. Let's also add some EQ to the drums. That's the fundamental. It's around 50, 60. We've also got this region around here. It's 100 to 150-ish. That's the knock of a kick. If I want to bring more punch or knock into my kick, I'm just going to do a boost around here. See, that's the sub. That's the knock. Right, so without it, with it. And you can be pretty aggressive. Just smack it up. There's a little bit too much high click. There. Let's bring that down. A little bit too much high click on your kick sounds very, EDM 2010s. It's not the vibe these days. Let's do another little boost around here. Right, so we're taking away too much of a high click here, and we're boosting a bit of less high click there in context of the track. Let's have a listen. Probably get away with some more. Turn it off. On. Cool. Next, let's jump onto our snare. A bit of a cut here. This is going to be the main thud of the snare. It's a bit tonal. So if you want a more aggressive sounding drums, smack that up. Very dubstep vibes. So get that. Yeah. And I want more presence in this snare. So I'm going to boost up around this way. Some of you might be at home going, hey, you've done a big boost over here and a big boost over here. Couldn't you just do a cut instead, like this? And to that, I say, yes. Same difference. Don't fret. Don't stress. It's okay. Do what you want. Don't worry about how it looks, just how it sounds. There used to be a bit of a thought going around, and that was like,
it's better to attenuate than it is to boost.
I don't care. I don't care about that. Just do what you want. It's not going to sound bad either way. Just do what you feel like. Do what sounds nice, all right? Just don't stress about that. Cool. That's that. That's it. That's it. That's all I want to say. See you later. All right, everybody. That's it from me, Alex Subhuman, here at United Pop Melbourne. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Happy mixing, everybody. Bye-bye.